I'm live now. Sorry about that, guys. I was on the phone with some family. Nothing serious, just checking in with them. Thank you all for joining beforehand. By the way, I see we already have 7 people here, 7 people in on the live stream party. This is actually my most planned live stream in a long time. um, and by that I mean I had this idea for a video that I wanted to make for a little while. And I figured it might be a little bit easier to do it as a live stream just so I don't have to make and edit and upload a video. So I'm not going to be reacting with the chat too much towards like the core of the video, but I can do that at the end, and I'll do it here at the beginning just to read out some of the messages that I missed from the beginning. Hi, Nick716. I see this is your first stream. Welcome. Happy to have you. Hey Rowan, nice to see you again. Kale says a failed start for a failed locomotive video. Yeah, it's kind of what's going on. Cosby, hello, good to see you around. Jay as well, welcome everybody, and Byron too. Thank you all for watching so far, and anybody else who is here that I might have missed. Um, I really appreciate your guys' support, and thank you for watching. So, Um, you probably have read in the chat, I'm sorry, in the description of this live stream so far, that this is going to be a video where I'm explaining a failed locomotive. So, I guess I can just get right into it. There's no real need for theatrics here. So, the premise of oh hi Owen, thank you. Um, thank you for watching. I'm gonna assume that Jay doesn't have any problems with me telling about this project that Jay has already um, taken to heart and worked so much on. He says, "Explain why you think of it as a fail." So that's a good point, actually. So before I dive too far into this, the reason I'm calling it a fail is because for a couple of reasons, really. It's one is that it's just taken so long to even get to this point where I need to, just come clean and just say, "Hey, I messed up." I mean, it's nothing serious. It's just a locomotive that doesn't work. But I'm calling it a fail because I've been working on this locomotive for um, almost 2 full years now. I've started this one in early 2017 when I was in Virginia, and several things. Been working on it several times since then, and just it's never worked right. So I've seen Kale in the chat. It says it's not a permanent fail; it's a temporary stumble. That's correct. It's just a pretty hard fall. So that would be entirely correct there. So Jay, you're in the chat. I'm gonna if you have no reservations about me explaining your train that you've done that I've recorded some with all the flat cars. Unless I see a message from you in the chat, I'm just gonna go and explain to people what has been going on and the reason for this locomotive existing in the first place and how it ties in with that and everything like that. It's not the BMR locomotive, which is really good. 18 months and 2 shows to get the big boy running right. Well, there you go. So you know everything that I'm about right now. So I'm just gonna wait for to see a message. All right, Jay says it's okay. Sip of tea. All right, so I'll start with this. So as many of you know, or as probably have seen in some of my videos so far, um, there is a train that has been frequenting the pen lug layout so far for a little while now for the past couple shows that we've been at, which is the military train. So it's the train of flat cars loaded with things like M4 Sherman tanks and field ambulances and GCKW trucks and Willys Jeeps, things of that nature. All the dark green military vehicles that you've seen on those flat cars, and most of the flat cars themselves belong to Jay, who is Hippie Jason in the chat. Real cool guy, by the way. So that's all Jay's stuff. The big boy is his as well. It's much older, and then he has also borrowed some flat cars from Kale and I to store the rest of the vehicles that he built because he doesn't have enough flat cars. And then he'll take a caboose from the Penlug caboose track as well. So that entire train is what we're just calling the military train for right now. It used to have a name. So the way that came about is that back in 2016, this was late 2016 for sure. Back in that time, um, a bunch of us train nerds got together and started thinking about. Oh, hi Strasbourg in the chat. Thank you. 14 people watching. Thank you all for watching. Um, uh, a bunch of us train heads got together in late 2016 and started theorizing and talking about a group build that we could all do together. Hi, Matt's Trains as well. Thank you for watching. We were all thinking about this collaborative train that we could do and thinking about what that could be, different things like that. And so we eventually decided on doing this military train where it would be like a World War II themed train, basically just moving a bunch of vehicles, equipment, passengers and, soldiers rather, and just moving that and grouping all that into just one train and just simulating that as if it was being like an equipment move or a company move across the United States during the Second World War. Hi, USS Baltimore. Thanks for joining. So that was the idea that came about, and so a lot of people were initially involved in this, and several people eventually had to bail out for other reasons, which I won't get into. But Jay obviously is the one who took it the closest because he's obviously done the most with it. Um, so around that time, back when we were all really gung ho about this project and I still would like to see us do more with it, more than just a bunch of vehicles on flat cars, because we had a lot of other really good ideas for this train. But back when we were all really gung ho about this project, I decided that I was going to do the locomotive for the train, and I did. And it's displayed. It's been displayed. There's a few pictures of it. I didn't post many pictures of the actual model for the public to see, but I did post a couple pictures of the LDD model, and it has been in I think at least one of my videos, and it's been on a couple other people's Flickr streams as well. So the locomotive that I decided to build for the train is a Pennsylvania J1 Texas type locomotive. And so the reason I chose this locomotive is because the J1 was a war baby in itself, meaning that the reason that the Pennsy J1 came to exist was due to the war effort and the need to move a lot of equipment at one time. And so the Pennsy needed some really big, powerful locomotives. However, the USRA put a restriction on new locomotive designs. So the Pennsy came and brought in a Chesapeake and Ohio Texas type, which is I forget what their designation is, but their 210-4. And then they also brought in one of the Norfolk and Western's articulateds, which I think they brought in. It was either an A class or a Y6B. So I'm not sure which one. Hi Kentucky Rail. Thank you for joining. The Pennsy brought those locomotives in, they tested them both out, and then they found that they liked the CNO's 210-4 a lot more than they liked the Norfolk and Western's articulated. So they took it and they made it a Pennsy locomotive, and the J1, as we know it, came to exist. I think they built 125 J1s. And like I said, this was to aid the war effort. So I had a J1 at the time that we were starting to figure out this military train, war train, troop train project, which we called Operation Rails to Victory. Um, that's what we called it. So I had a J1 prototype in Lego Digital Designer at that point, and so I decided that I would take it and redesign it from the ground up, or overhaul it, so to speak. And so that's what I did, and I finished the LDD model, and I was really happy with it. And then so I started ordering all the parts and everything, and I built it, and I tested it, and it worked okay on my living room floor in Virginia. Then I brought it to Philly Brickfest, and it just wouldn't work right. It worked for a little while, and then the gears started slipping, and it really kind of tore my heart out at that point. But so that was, I'm kind of getting into the history of this locomotive now. So I took it to Philly Brickfest, which is why I originally intended to test the model, which I technically did. It's just the way I had built the original drivetrain just wasn't very good at all, and so I spent a lot of Philly Brickfest working to disassemble and redesign and rebuild the drivetrain while I was there, and I did that, but it didn't really work much better, and I ended up cannibalizing the New York Central Hudson from Nate Brill with permission. It was definitely with permission. I ended up cannibalizing his locomotive to try and make this work, and so I doubt Nate would be watching this. But Nate, I apologize that I don't have anything to show for it right now, and I apologize for destroying your locomotive without without having something to show for it. Anyways, so that was at Philly Brickfest that year. I then took it back and started improving it again, and gave it to Kale eventually to display at Brickworld Chicago. This was during 2017, by the way. I gave it to Kale to display then with what Jay had finished of the troop train at that point. That was where some of the first public photographs became available of it. They're still probably on. I think some of them are on Kale's photo stream. I think some of them are on Jay's photo stream. They're both on Flickr. If you want to go back and look for them. So that was the first show that it was technically displayed at, and I wanted to have it there just so we could get some pictures of it and say, hey, look, we built something that at least looks nice. So after that, I took it and started reworking it again in the fall of 2017 and tested it again, and it still didn't work right. And I got really disheartened after that again. Hi, Luke. Thank you for watching. Wow, there's 18 people watching. If we break 20, I'll be really impressed. That'll be a record. I said if you're just joined, by the way, I'm not going to be interacting with the chat. This is just kind of I figured it would be easier to live stream this video than record it, edit, and upload it. So if you missed something, I'm going to leave this up on my channel for you people to see later. And for those of you who are just joining and have no idea what I'm talking about a failed locomotive project for me. Like I said, you can go back earlier in the stream after I'm done and catch the rest of the details. So after Brickworld, sorry, in 2017, I worked on it some more, but it still didn't work right, and I was really upset at it again. And so after that, it just kind of lied dormant for a while, but a lot of that was by choice. I had to finish college in 2018. The spring semester and the summer semester were really a nose to the grindstone kind of semesters for me, but now I'm done. So that was the reason for that. And then so over the summer, I had a little bit extra time and I started looking at the drivetrain again. And I had something that I thought was a lot more solid, and it definitely was, but it still wasn't perfect. I tested it again. I forget. I think it was at the NM. Yeah, I tested it again at the NMRA show just last month, and so it still didn't work quite right. I was getting kind of annoyed with the PFX brick that I had used to replace it. This little guy. I was getting kind of annoyed with that, and then so it still didn't work quite right. I had other issues that I found that arose and out of it, and so it just this locomotive is just a testament of just or a mass of just things that just never worked right. But I wanted to make this kind of make this general announcement and show you guys a little bit of what I built of it, but um, I wanted to make this announcement just so people were aware because I've been hyping up this secret locomotive and secret project for quite some time now, and I don't have anything to show for it. And so I wanted to make people aware of that. And so, because I do occasionally still get comments about it, and honestly, I'm kind of disheartened by it. It's kind of my the bane of my Lego train modeling existence right now. It's just the one that it's just not been good to me. Although I'm not saying that I'm giving up on this locomotive. I'm definitely not doing that. It's just um, I still have all the parts from it. It's just one of those things where I'm going to take a very long break from it and come back to it again at some point. Roundhouse Warrior, thank you for joining the live stream. I hope you enjoy it. Um, I'm not, like I said, I'm not giving up on the locomotive. It's just one of those things where I need to focus on some other stuff. Maybe I'll be working on Brick Model Railroader a lot between now and the end of the year. I've got another locomotive that I would really looking forward to starting. Hopefully very soon. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of what was going on with this engine and apologize and let you know that I'm kind of upset at myself because I don't have anything to show for it after all this time and after making up so much hype for it. So there's the main point of the video. I'll be happy to answer relevant questions in the chat, and then after I'm done with that, we'll kind of open it up to more general conversation because I haven't done more general live stream in a while, so I'd like to do a little bit of that as well. But the other thing that I really wanted to touch on this video is that why I'm not posting any photos of it. And it's not like I haven't at all. There are some photos of the LDD model that I've made of it. They're available to see for the public on my Flickr, and then I'll show you guys just a little bit of what I have. That's still together that I really like tonight. But I won't be posting any pictures of it because, like I said, it's never been finished and it's never worked right, and so I wouldn't feel comfortable with sharing something that is has been that way for me for all this time. And it's just one of those things where I'm not necessarily proud of it taking this long and all that, but I just wanted to let you guys know where I'm at right now. I see a lot of messages in the chat, by the way. I'm going to go back up and read most, if not all of those. But that explains basically all the thought behind me making this live stream tonight. So, and again, I just figured it would be easier to press live stream instead of record and edit and upload a video. So I appreciate you guys all for tuning in. So now I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what I have done for the locomotive just right now. Um, just as so everybody is aware, none of this is all. I'm not guaranteeing that all of this is going to stay together for the final iteration, the completed iteration of the locomotive. Um, but this is what I have that's still around right now. RJP, thank you for joining the stream. Hope you enjoy it. So I'll start with the tender. The J1s use long haul tenders. So this is what I made. Great big old tender. Is this light annoying, by the way? I feel like that might. Oh wow, no, I just can't see anything. Let me turn on a couple more lights. Just 1 second, guys. I'm finding that my apartment is kind of weird with the light situation right now, so I'm doing what I can. We'll see. So this is the roundhouse. I'm sorry, roundhouse. This is a long haul tender. So I kind of did what I can. There's a coal load for it, which is over here currently. This was originally built to use an S brick, which I quickly found out that I hated using. The S brick was mounted in the firebox, and it just was annoying to use from day one. So I scrapped that eventually and went for the PFX brick, and that's still been a little bit annoying to use because I haven't set it up the way I like it, and it's just I'm kind of transferring my annoyance, but it's one of those things. So this is the long haul tender. It's got the coal load, coal boards. The Pensy train phone antenna was a very signature thing for the long hauls as well, and then the porthole doghouse on the back. You can kind of see the detail. I'm hoping you can see enough of it. I really like this tender. It's just there's a lot of things that I need to look at again, and I need to fix the trucks because they only have half the correct amount of wheels on it for right now. So that's the tender. I can show you one of the sides of the locomotive so far. This is the engineer's side with all the detail on it. I used a string for the throttle cable, which I thought was kind of cool. Then obviously flex tube and some brick arm stuff for all the piping. Oh yeah, this is a Dali sound system. For those of you who are unfamiliar with my Crusader, this is exactly what I have in there. Wow, the chat just disappeared. I don't know what went on there. There it is. This is exactly what I have in my Crusader. It's a great system, and they make this Lego interface that you can use with any of your locomotives, and comes with instructions on how to wire it up. So all you have to do is just follow the instructions and you'll be fine. I love this system. Looking forward to hopefully being able to use it again in the final version of the locomotive. I have the sand dome. The sand dome is unoriginal. I copied it from Ed Chang 765. The sand hatches do open, which I thought was kind of nice. You can kind of see it. There you go. Basically just going through all the parts right now. The cab and the firebox is one of the assemblies that I'm the most proud of right now. I've always thought this was the nicest thing. I have a roof hatch that does open sometimes if I don't break it, but basically you can kind of see down in there in the roof hatch. You have to it's posable. It doesn't actually slide, but it slides back. You can pose it back. And then of course I built the back head, and Kale was nice enough to make some crew figures for me, so I have him to thank for those. And then I dug this out just because it'd be interesting. This is the smoke box store with this is a 3D printed Shapeways keystone that Kale made for me, and himself. I think it's available on his Shapeways store. Kale, if could enlighten us more, but I did have plans to put lights in. It's just I never even got around to that, just because it's still kind of a failed locomotive right now. So that's that. But the thing that I'm probably the most happy about is the chassis. This is the chassis. I mean, I've posted this basic thing in a video, so this is what I disassembled it to make it. It's basically just turned into what I intended it to be in the first place, which is just the J1 itself. But I'm really happy with this chassis because I was able to model a lot of really cool things with it, like all the valve gear, like the slide valve actually moves in and out properly. It's actually timed correctly on a real steam locomotive. So this is just one of the things that I'm most proud of with it. And obviously, I have to rebuild a lot of it to make it work properly. But as far as aesthetics go and mechanical the rods go, I guess, mechanical things like that, this is a big win for me, and I'm going to keep most of this as I can. A lot of this comes from the Ed Chang 765 because they are kind of similar locomotives. So I would recommend going on to his Flickr if you guys have questions about the specifics of how I built stuff. Painter Train Productions, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy the stream. I'm not reading the chat still. I'll get to that very soon. But this is basically it, guys. I wanted to let you know what's been going on, why I haven't debuted my secret locomotive yet. This is my secret locomotive. It's just it is what it is at this point. So that's all I can do. But I will finish this locomotive. It's just it's going to be a while, and I will obviously post. I will be more open with posting about it now that the cat's out of the bag, so to speak. So it's not going to be as secretive anymore. I'm obviously not going to just give away the entire design because it's I would rather do that under the BMR name if I decide to do that. But I just wanted to let you guys know what's going on, and I will be more open about this locomotive now that I'm basically just bearing it all. Hold on just a second. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's what I have, guys. I'm gonna scroll back up in the chat now and read a lot of the messages. I go back to where I remember. Owen said, "Who built the military train?" That's all Jay's work. All the tanks, the vehicles, and most of those flat cars are his. He's borrowed some of our flat cars too. If there will be another Brickfest, there definitely is. Who else is hyped for the new Octrainber? I am because I'm coordinating it. Hopefully, you enjoy the competition. I'm definitely excited about it. That's one of my original ideas. Let's see. Don't be upset. I'm sure everyone understands. Thank you very much, Nick. I appreciate that. The J is going to get done. I will force you to rebuild it because I'm still rebuilding those I1s to run pusher for it. Absolutely. We're doing that. We're doing that Pensy coal train. That's definite at some point. The J curse is nothing compared to what the Western Maryland curse. That's true as well. Now I get to bag on Kale a little bit. For those of you who are new around here, Kale is a huge Western Maryland fan, but there's a bit of irony there, is because none of the Western Maryland locomotives that he's built have worked properly right off the bat. So the running joke between a few of us is that Kale has got a Western Maryland curse. So there's that. But this is kind of the start of my own curse, if you will. Whip picks are entirely acceptable. Absolutely. I will. Like I said, I'll be more open to that now that I'm kind of reviewing what's going on. Tender is longer than the O scale. Yeah, it's pretty big. The long haul tenders were big old things for sure. Another engine with sound. Yeah, this is one of my main goals, is to put another Dally sound system in another new locomotive from me. And I definitely have the sound system. It's just I need to obviously finish the locomotive and package everything properly. So how long does it take to build a Lego steam locomotive? Well, this one is a bad example because I've been working on this for 2.5 years, 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. Well, and it's probably going to take a lot longer than that to get it done. The 3D print came out really good. Yeah, it does. It's the Shapeways polished, white, strong, and flexible material, whatever it is. It's a really basic thing. But yeah, it turned out very well. I think Kale has them available on Shapeways. Where did I get the valve gear for the chassis? That is available from trainbricks.com, which will redirect you to a Bricklink store. Then you can go to the parts, the available items for sale on the left, and select train, and then work with him and figure out what you need for your own locomotive. Um, it is powered by batteries, yes. I used a 10.8 volt battery initially. Now that is kind of under property of BMR for testing elsewhere, but I need to get that back at some point or just buy another one. Um, I would like to use a different connector. I used a barrel jack um, for it. I'd like to use something smaller because it'll be easier to use and transfer the battery from one locomotive to another. Um, so that basically wraps up the main point of this video and the kind of the reason for me calling the stream "Oh Well," the thumbnail, and why I'm calling this locomotive a failure. And just to reiterate, it's just never worked right from the start. It's taken me so long to get to this point, and I still don't have anything to show for it, even after I built all this hype up around the locomotive that used to be a secret, now is not. So in a way, I want to apologize for everybody for not having anything to show for it after so long. Um, I'm going to try and be smarter about all the hype now, but I hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from with all this, and I'd appreciate any understanding that you guys have. But definitely don't think this is a woe is me thing. This is just me putting it all out on the table and just letting you guys know what's up. And I still have a pretty awesome chassis, and I'm really happy with this so far. I've been happy with this. This has been my favorite part of the locomotive since I started it. It was real. I will just sit here and push this back and forth for hours because it's so nice for me to. It's so nice to look at. So it's definitely not a case where I'm just giving up completely. It's just I'm taking a long break from it. Going to completely rebuild it from the ground up. I'm going to take nearly everything apart. Use a drivetrain that I know will work now. Kel and I have been workshopping a drivetrain that has been proven so far, and hopefully will continue to be proven very well. And so, yeah, I'm definitely coming back to this at some point. And now, it's just now is not the time, and I got other stuff to work on for now. That takes care of the main part of the video. So now I'm just gonna open it up to a general conversation, Q&A. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I would just before I end the stream, I'd really like to thank you guys all for watching. It means a lot to see everybody come out and support me in this manner. I really appreciate it. And so, yeah, that takes care of the main part of the video. So that's that takes care of that. I'm gonna look at the chat now. Kale says it took almost a year to build the A5 and another to photograph it, and you still haven't. Yeah, you got to photograph the A5, man. What's up? You got to decal that thing too. It's been so long. Andy's giving you the decals even. Yeah, I'm definitely keeping the chassis. Like I said, I really like it. I basically got most of it off of Ed Chang 765. So if you wanna, I would recommend looking there first if you wanna look at stuff like, sorry, if you wanna look at how he did his rods and cylinders, I would recommend looking there first because that's where I got mine, and his works really well. Not saying that mine doesn't. It works pretty good. It's just Ed's is the first to do it. So there's that. What would be a great first steam locomotive to make out of Lego? I personally would recommend something like a 10-wheeler or possibly a consolidation, depending on what you would like to go for. Is a personal, your own personal choice. But the reason for that is because 10-wheelers and consolidations are very small locomotives. By comparison, at least to a J1, which technically this is a 10-wheeler, right? Or I'm sorry, a decapod right now. Here's the rear truck. It's not got any wheels on it. Um, they're both pretty general use. Consolidations are obviously more freight, but you can use a 10-wheeler for anything that you can think of. So, and they both offer you some different but good challenges. A 10-wheeler, you have the 4-wheel pilot truck, and a consolidation, you have the eight couple drivers to work with. So that's what I would recommend if you're just now getting into it. They'll both offer you enough challenges, and you certainly have a lot of options to select in either wheel type. We have awesome stuff we're working on, like a gondola. That's right, we've been working on a gondola. Kale's been really taking this gondola hardcore this week, working on it, trying to get it done, and we're almost there. Got a couple more things to do. I did design a really nice box cover for it, and that's done. So we're working on that gondola. This is BMR stuff, by the way. We're working on that gondola. and got some other things going. We have a bulkhead flat car going. Speaking of which, I have my test build for it right here. This is the rainbow bulkhead flat car. So this is just a test to make sure the build was sound and nothing was too fragile, but it definitely is not, because as you can see, I've modeled one of the bulkheads almost entirely, and I can hold the car by holding the bulkhead. And this is not a light car, by the way. It's basically all plates. There's like, in some cases, there's like 6 layers of plates in here. So this is the getting to be a considerably heavy car for the something this size. But I can completely hold up the car just by the bulkhead on a cantilever. So if you're considering looking into building a bulkhead flat car, this is going to be a good one. This is a 60-foot bulkhead flat car. So that's that for now. That's one of the things that we have coming up soon. We're also hoping to release a 50-foot box car to match that in the same time period. It's a little bit more modern than what we've been doing so far. And then obviously we have other plans for into 2019 and everything. So that takes care of BMR. If I was going to take part in Octrainver, what foreign loco would I build that is not a Grizzly Pacific? That's a great question. So for those of you who don't know, Octrainver is the annual competition that BMR puts on for the month of October. We play on words and call it Octrainver. Hopefully you can get that joke. But the challenge is different. We're going to make the challenge different every year. This is only year 2 for us. But this year I decided to make the challenge um, you have to build something that was not designed or used in your native country. So, me being from America, I could not build something that was designed or used in America. And if you have, we're leaving the rules fairly open ended just so people can take some amount of creativity. But the basically, if the service life of the locomotive or car or the building or whatever, it can be open ended in that regard. But the service life of the item could has to be outside of your native country. So as Owen mentioned, if I could participate, which I can't because I'm coordinating and judging. If I could participate, what would I build that isn't a Grizzly Pacific? I want to build a Grizzly Pacific. I want to build several Grizzly Pacifics really badly. It's just I got a lot of other stuff to do right now. But if I had to not build a Grizzly Pacific, I would probably do something. I would say maybe French. There's a French Pacific that I would really like to do. Maybe a French 10-wheeler. There's a couple of good options for those, and if I had to do something that was British, I would go for a something from the LMS, possibly a Black 5 or maybe a Royal Scot class. I'm sorry, a Jubilee class. Either one of those, I forget which one it was, but that would be my first. Those would be my I guess second and third picks for Octrainber, and fourth, I don't know. 10-wheel, yeah, 10-wheelers are definitely good. As I mentioned, they're a mixed traffic locomotive, so you can put any kind of freight, any kind of passenger behind them, and it'll be reasonably accurate. Do I know how to build a 460? Yes, I do. I built one several years ago, and it's the first locomotive that I ever built that's correct. But you right now would probably not be the best time for me to get into all the specifics about that because it's a little bit involved. But there's plenty of resources online. I'd be happy to talk to you one on one after the stream is up and answer some questions you might have there. But I could help if you would like my assistance. I am willing to offer that in some amount. Kayla's working on the gondola history right now. Actually, that's great. I am really happy to hear that. We're moving forward. Mistakenly made my locomotive body before the wheel set. Yeah, it's generally a better idea to go with the chassis first because that way you get all the mechanical issues solved right off the bat. I definitely did not do that with the J1. Actually, technically, I did. The original design for the J1 was a tender drive, but it would have turned out to be very slow. It would have been powerful, but it would have been very slow. Too slow for a J1, I feel. So I moved it to the locomotive, and everything went downhill from there. But anyways, the tender drive probably wouldn't have worked that well anyways because I would have run into the same gear slipping problems and stuff like that. I also plan to use four L motors and 2 battery boxes on 2 different systems, so that would have been a real nightmare to actually build into the tender. But I did actually manage to fit everything in the same package as this tender. It just would have been really weird at some point. Gonna get some really shady build connections, so there's that. But definitely try to make the chassis before you make anything else and try to work out your drivetrain first. Definitely the best thing. Try making one of those Pullman cab. Yeah, that would be nice. Pullman cars, definitely. The modern day, no, it's not a modern day gondola. It's a 40s gondola, but you could probably still find some examples in use today. Um, it's the 52.5 foot drop end gondola. We're actually selling two different versions from two different car makers. They're very similar, but they're technically different. So there's a welded steel body and then a riveted body. And so um, the welded steel, I believe, is from Bethlehem Steel Car, and then the riveted body is the original Pennsylvania design or the American Car and Foundry version, or I could have that backwards. I don't recall right now. I think that brings me up to speed on the chat. I believe so. So if any, we'll leave it open for other questions. I'm not going to stream for too long here because I will have to go to work in the morning. But I'm happy to answer any other questions right now. I don't really have anything else planned for the live stream. Um, so that takes care of that. Once again, I do appreciate you guys for sticking with me uh, and appreciate the support. And once again, thank you for understanding my position with this dreaded Pennsy J1 locomotive. Next show. What is my next show going to be? That's a good question. So probably it's going to be one of the Greenberg shows that's coming up towards the end of this year. I think Penlug is doing a couple. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think we're doing the Lebanon show again. Beyond that, I think we're doing the World's Greatest Hobby, which is in Oaks, Pennsylvania. If you're familiar with Philly Brickfest, it'll be in the same building, but that'll be next year, I think. Other than that, I can't remember what other shows we're doing. Kel might have some insight on that if he's still in the chat. Oh, you mean okay. Yeah, so this is a concept that I've actually had this in my head for a little while. It's just, and it still doesn't mean anything now that I've done this, but I've been toying with the idea of a 3-stud narrow gauge rather than a 2-stud narrow gauge like what Lego gives us. So I've made this dual gauge track out of the ME stuff. So you got the standard 4-stud gauge and then the 3-stud gauge there. And so the reason for this is mainly just because I'm interested in seeing what can be done with it. I think there's a lot of really nice opportunity to use a gauge like that to model some nice trains in a little bit more detail than you can get in with something like a 2-stud gauge, because I think that would be extremely limiting. That's just my own personal ideas, but yeah. So what I'm actually going to do right now is rebuild this track, the ME track, so I can use it as a display track. So I need to get a box real quick. 1 second. But yeah, I've been thinking about narrow gauge a little bit recently, and I've kind of forced Kale into thinking about it some too, just because of the way that's how that works. One of us thinks about something, and then the other one thinks about something, and it's just a downhill spiral from there. But anyways, so that's that. Next live stream, no idea. The my shtick on YouTube is that I don't plan my live streams, and technically this one is a little bit different because I planned it in some regard, but I usually don't, so I can't give you a good answer for that, Jay. Sorry about that. Chat disappeared again. There it is. What's so good about the PFX brick? I like the PFX brick a lot. The main reason for that is because it's the most customizable option you have for Lego trains on the market currently. And it's made for Lego, so you don't have to do any modifications with it. You can just buy it and plug it into your computer and set it up however you want. You can do a lot of speed step options, like you can take it all the way up to 200 speed steps if you so wish, which is a really nice advantage over having the 7 speed steps of power functions, or even the 10 of powered up, even though powered up is extremely limiting. I like that. There's a lot of really good options for sound right out of the box. It's not perfect for steam locomotives because I can't mechanically sync the chuff, so the chuff is not going to be directly synced to the wheels, which is a big sticking point for me, but I realize that it could just be me in that camp, so feel free to make your own decisions, and please, by all means, please do. Don't let me influence you too much. I'm just saying what I think and what my experiences have been so far. But yeah, the PFX is very good. If you're one of the people that likes to use a Bluetooth app to control the train, you can do that with the PFX, or you can use the IR, which is really nice. And you don't really have to do any modifications to switch out. You can run one either way immediately, and then switch to the other immediately, which is really nice. And I think Michael Gale has done a fantastic job. Jason Allman too. They've both done a fantastic job with the PFX brick and in general, and I love it personally. I need to find a locomotive which I can really take advantage of it with. I don't know what that would be right now. The next locomotive that I have on the roster will not use it for sure. Um, I've got a lot of other plans for that engine, but the rest of it we'll see. I do like the PFX, so don't let me deter anyone from buying it, because I am serious when I say I do like it. Am I planning on building a water tender? I am not. I don't have a locomotive right now that would warrant a water tender, but I am sure at some point I will. Um, we'll see. There's just so many possibilities with that, but no plans for right now. Oh yeah, East Broadtop would be one of the good candidates for the narrow gauge. Kale has been thinking about that one because it's obviously a home road for him. Me, on the other hand, I've been thinking about the Cumbres and Toltec a lot. Um, So that's kind of what I was been thinking with that, the old DRGW stuff, but that's just me. Penlug is doing a Greenberg show in Lebanon, PA in December. Also in December is the month-long display at America on Wheels in Allentown. January is the World's Greatest Hobby Show. So I was right. February is the Greenberg show in York. March might be Nebraska Brick Days. That's true. That is a really good point Kel just brought up. So I have been talking with uh, Nate Flood, who is the coordinator for Nebraska Brick Days, and he is begging Kale and I to try and get out there, and we're trying to make it work for him because I know how bad he wants to have us out there. So we're trying to make it work, but we'll see. But so far, it's looking pretty good. So that's what we've got going on with that, which would be really nice. And I'm gonna be straight up with all you guys. I would love to go to Nebraska Brick Days for an event. That would be really fun. Let's see. Next personal non-BMR Lego build that now that the J is currently in a holding pattern. I'm not revealing that. That is a locomotive that I have deemed very special to me, and I want to keep that one a complete secret until I am ready to post it and when I feel comfortable with it. It's definitely going to be a lot easier than the J1 for sure. Um, I have a lot of other things that have already been proven with it, and but still a lot of things that I need to figure out, and it's just going to take a long time to figure those things out. But I'm hoping to have it at least published for Brickworld 2019. That is the plan. Don't quote me on that, but I'm hoping to have it done because I'm really excited about this locomotive, and I really hope I can finish it very soon, or hope I can start it very soon. Says off topic. Can we see a locomotive? It doesn't have to be close. One close. Don't bother to get it. I have a couple things. I just have my Atlantic out right now, and the car, my freight cars along with that. I can show those off just while we're hanging out. Um, Favorite Berkshire? That's a good question. I really like the nickel plate class of Berkshires. I've gotten recently a very nice appreciation for those class Berkshires. They're very nice locomotives. There's six still around, and I don't necessarily have a personal connection to any one of them, but I really like 779 just being the last locomotive delivered by Lima, and I like the look of the S3 Berks. There's not much different with them compared to the S2s or S1s, but I just like them, and I like the idea of I like 779 because it's preserved in all black, and I think that's a really sharp look for that locomotive. So that would probably be my favorite look, my favorite Berkshire's nickel plate 779. Might have to leave soon. Well, I appreciate your support and watching. You've been here from the beginning, and so I appreciate it very much. So someone asked to see a locomotive. This is my Atlantic. I realize my lighting situation is deplorable right now, and I just broke off the trailing truck because that happens. But yeah, I've been running my Atlantic out on a I can't show you very easily because I'm streaming from my laptop, but I've had a nice sized loop of track actually set up in my apartment floor for the past, I guess, week and a half or 2 weeks almost, probably closer to 1 week. But I've been running that with my freight cars, and I've been enjoying that just because it's nice to actually run trains every once in a while. But I have my BMR tank car, the original BMR tank car, which I took the U.S. Army Transportation Corps decals to. This actually is actually a good tie-in. So I mentioned the locomotive as part of the Operation Rails to Victory, or the military train project. This was a car that I built for it. This is basically just pieces I had lying around at the time. I was at home for a weekend and just decided I'm going to see if I can build a tank car. So I did. I think I probably robbed a few parts from Kale, but it was that was an agreed upon thing. But yeah, this has became the BMR tank car. So there's that. Got my cotton belt BMR flat car. The cotton belt decals were the one decal choice that I forced Kale to do because I like to have something cotton belt to match my Atlantic, even though my Atlantic's a passenger locomotive. But I used a mix of old and new light gray on the deck. You can kind of see the difference there. So some of it looks kind of weathered. I think it's kind of cool. And then I have my Brickmania PS1 boxcar. This is a custom boxcar. I did a video on this. You can find it on my channel. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with this, but it has custom Brickmania decals with their slogan, a couple other cool things on there. This is a really fun, fun car to have. I like that one a lot. Light your face from a source behind the camera next time. That's a good point. I should have moved my lamp. It's too plugged in right now, or just I have other lamps. I don't know. Good room for improvement. Thanks, Jay. Do I have any model trains? I kind of do. They're kind of put away right now, so I'm not going to get them. But I have a couple of things that I've just been kind of collecting just because of the railroad that I particularly have an interest in. So I do have a couple model train cars. No locomotives at the moment. Have I ever thought about building the 686 S2? I actually have. Um, that was a while ago, but I actually have thought about building the S2 at some point. I still would like to. It's just so far down on the list, and I have so many other things that I'd like to do first, and definitely things that take a lot higher priority. But I like the S2. It's a really weird one-off locomotive, and so maybe it's eventually at some point I'd like to have one for my own personal fleet. We'll see. That's like actually a good question. Um, I think that brings me up to speed in the chat. Still have 8 people watching. Thank you all very much for continuing to show your support. I do appreciate it. I realize that you could be doing a lot of other things with your time than watching me stream. I'm probably going to stream for maybe about another 15 minutes or so. Just wrap it up around the 8:45 time. But that takes care of that. I do have my Pennsylvania NC5 car. I did do a video on this as well. Uh, I'm going to display this on my desk at work. One of the reasons for that is because I mean, I can still get it if I want to go to a show with it, but it doesn't have bearings, and it actually does hold up my trains a considerable amount when I put it on there. So that's just one of those things. I might redesign the trucks or build my own trucks to um, go underneath it and keep the original ones, but I'd have to get the original builder's blessing before I do that, just for the sake of being able to run it more, because I definitely like it a lot. Have I ever thought about building the American Freedom Train? I have not. There is one car from the American Freedom Train that I have considered building, and I plan to build. So there's that, but other than that, I really don't have anything American Freedom Train wise that I would like to build. Seriously would like to build. That takes care of about everything. Yeah, like I said, I'm just gonna leave it up to the chat and see where the conversation goes. But I will cut it off pretty soon, close to 8:45, just so I can wrap up my night and get ready for tomorrow and the rest of the week. Um, Again, happy to answer any questions. Let me put my Atlantic back and I'll jump back on here. I've been using the BrickTrax R120 curves. The entire, I mean, you can't see it, and it'd be hard to show, but the entire loop is around all the furniture in my living room right now, and I'm using the BrickTrax R120s, which I absolutely love using. BrickTrax does not pay me to say anything good about their product, but I wish they did because it would be a bonus for me. But I will defend BrickTrax and I will continue to advertise them for a long, long time because their quality is incredible. Injection molded track, incredible quality, stuff that the Lego hobby needs. Really good stuff. But yeah, I'm using BrickTrax R120s on on the Lupa Trap in my living room. I had a lot of track that I got through the lug bulk this year come in, so I used a lot of that as well. I did use a couple of R88 curves from ME models just because I had them and I needed just a little bit extra track just to complete the loop, but not a big deal really. All my locomotives can handle them. Yeah, that's basically it. Um, I'm enjoying having an apartment where I can do something like that on my own again. Certainly a nice advantage to be able to set up something big enough to where I could run all my trains. Just I wish I had more trains to run at this point. My Atlantic is really the only one that I run consistently at this point because my K4 is getting kind of sluggish. I think I might need to replace the batteries in it. I'm sorry, not the batteries, the motors, using the Power Functions train motors. So I might need to see about replacing those. We'll see. Um, Beyond that, I have obviously, like I said, my Atlantic, and then I have run the Crusader a little bit as well, just because I have it, but I don't like running it as much because I don't keep the car set with me, so it doesn't look right with just the locomotive running around. But that's basically it. See, there's some more messages in the chat. Let me finish up on putting the cars back on the line, and I'll get over and read those and answer any questions that might have arisen. There we go, taken care of. Probably going to hop off. Thanks, Owen. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your support. Good to see you around as always. Have a good evening. Happen to know a place that sells Lego compatible axle bearings. Hey, what do you know? I know a guy that could get you a good deal. Have I played with BrickTrax R56s yet? No, I have not. I wish I did. I would like to see what the minimum radius turn for my locomotives are, and I definitely know it's not R40, but I would like to see. And BrickTrax, obviously, like I said, has amazing quality, so I'm sure I could find a place for R56 at some point in the future. Any tips for beginners on Lego steam locomotives? Do your research both on the real locomotive that you're trying to model and on similar locomotives that use similar techniques, such as like pilot trucks, trailing trucks, drive trains, stuff like that. Definitely do your research, do your homework, ask questions. There's a lot of people that are more than happy to help you. And don't get discouraged because um, and don't be satisfied with your first design because there's always stuff that you can do to improve. I'm always finding ways to improve a lot of the stuff that I've done. It's just there's so much other stuff going on and so many new things that I want to do. It takes a long time to get around to projects like that. But definitely research, ask questions, take things slow. Don't cut corners on your first time. Try to do things right. That's I guess the best. And start with the running gear first, especially on steam locomotives. Start with the running gear first. Get this taken care of. Get the motors connected. Make sure that all works really good, and then build around that and try not to mess anything up because that's the key to success right there. Which room in the apartment is your new layout going into? Probably right where this desk is so far. um, my bedroom is pretty big, but it'd be kind of weird just to have layout modules in the middle of it. So I'm probably just going to put it along this wall for right now. It's going to take up a lot more room when it's done, but eventually when I get around to starting it, I'm going to probably just put it along this wall and have a few modules that I can work on here and there, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, I got a lot of big plans for the layout that I have in mind. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be something that I document extensively, and I'm really excited about it. I really hope that you guys can stick around on my channel for long enough for me to be able to actually start the layout and be able to show it off to you guys. Like I said, I am excited about it. I've got a lot of really good ideas for it. Kale knows what I'm talking about. Did I build an 8 watt? I did build a big boy at some point. So this is a kind of one of my young and dumb moments. But there was a guy a while back that offered instructions which were basically a rip off of Jay's Big Boy Jay, who's in the chat even. And so me just being the young guy that I was and not really knowing any better, I bought them and I built it, but they were a really bad copy, and it didn't work quite right, and it was honestly it was too big for the layout that I had at the time, uh, which was the old layout on the 4x8 that I made a video about some time ago. Um, it was that layout, and it just never worked right from the start, just because the instructions were just a bad copy, and so um, that's the big boy that you remember, but it's gone now. I would like to make a big boy at some point, just because I have a lot of respect for that locomotive. It's very impressive piece of machinery, but just not going to be anytime soon. How would I motorize NG trains? What do you mean by NG, painter? Crusader is 9 studs wide, correct. My Streamliners are 9 studs. My Crusader and my K4, they're both 9 studs. I find it a little bit easier to work with if you just make the body 9 studs from the beginning, and then you can build a lot of nice detail into it as well, and it just kind of it looks a little bit better on the track. It's just my opinion. I'm not saying that's the correct way to do things. You have to obviously decide that for yourself. Do I know how to build a Japanese style C62 class with smoke deflectors? I absolutely do not. I don't mean to come across the wrong way, but I have no idea about anything that's. I really don't have any idea about anything that's uh, non-American or non-British really at this point. Or I would like to. I mean, I would like to do everything at some point, but just there's so many other things that I'd want to do more. It's just a lot of things I won't ever get around to likely. So I can't say that I could be much help there. Narrow gauge trains. Oh yeah. So I don't know yet. Like I said, I want to play around with this 3 stud gauge and see what the deal is with that. Um, the gauge obviously is something that we'd have to work out as well because of the curves. No, there's not technically no curves that exist for a 3 stud narrow gauge track. And obviously we'd have to figure out a robust enough drive system for a locomotive. But I do fully intend on doing that at some point. It's just so many other things, like I said before. But that would be a lot of fun for me. I would really enjoy doing some Cumbres and Toltecs or DRGW or Durango and Silverton stuff at some point. Going to build a new layout with the proposed Lego modular standards? No, but I'm going to build a transition. Actually, no, I'm not. The layout that I'm going to build is going to be completely a standalone thing. I'm actually going to be pretty picky on what runs on it and anything else that goes along with it. It's a layout that I've been planning for some time now, and a layout that I've already done a lot of research into modeling, and so I'm going to be really picky with stuff like that and really picky with details, and so it's definitely going to be a standalone thing rather than a modular. It's going to be modular just so I can take it places and hopefully display it at shows when I have stuff done. But it's definitely not going to be something that I'd want to connect to other layouts because it just for me it just wouldn't look right. It's it's just one of those personal things. It's just kind of similar in a similar situation to where a locomotive that isn't the Crusader wouldn't look right pulling the Crusader cars in the same way that other locomotives and cars that don't really fit with the layout wouldn't look right, at least to me, on the layout. So that's just me. But at the end of the day, it is my layout, so I get to make the rules. um, I would like to be at Philly Brickfest 2019. Definitely. Philly Brickfest is a home show for Penlug, one that we always try to do a lot at, and so I would definitely like to be there if I can. I probably would not be there for the entire show, but I definitely try to make it out there for at least the weekend. We'll see what happens, but that's the tentative plan. Any Père Marquette or nickel plate freight cars? I'm not too familiar with what the nickel plate and Père Marquette used. I'm sure you could the BMR freight cars though they're pretty general use. So like the Pullman 40-foot box car that we have, the 53-foot flat car, the US ACF 10 Type 27 tank car. I'm sure you could find all of those on there at some point. It's just, you know, excuse me. Yeah, I don't think we have any nickel plate or Paramarquette decals. We should look into that. Um, but yeah, there's the VMR stuff. I know for a fact is very um, general use, used on a lot of railroads, and that's why we chose those particular cars to do. Is because they appeal to a wide audience, and we can make a lot of decals for them. So that answers that. Ordering parts for a small NYC Steam loco. That'll be very nice. Hope to see. Looking forward to seeing what you can come up with that. My road, my rules. That's exactly right. My layout, my rules. At the end of the day, people who build their own layouts get to decide what does and doesn't work for them. So it's up to them at the end of the day. Masters of their own layout. That's my mindset, and I'm sticking to it. I might have missed another message in the chat. I'm looking up. Don't see anything. Gonna wrap up very soon, guys. By the way, so get your final questions in. Happy to answer them. Then I'll cut it off at some point and get ready for bed. One of my main goals, I guess, for this J1 is removing a lot of the friction, because it will roll pretty well. It's just I definitely see that there's still some room for improvement there. So it's one of the things I got to work on. So. Hey Brandon, thanks for joining. Unfortunately, I'd have to tell you you're catching the end of the stream, but I'll leave it up in case you want to watch the rest. Just fun to watch, really. When is Philly Brickfest? It'll be next April. The later part of April, it's always is when Philly Brickfest is. So hopefully you can make it by and stop by the Penlug layout and say hello. Kale texted me, this can't be good. I'll have to read that right later. A lot of text. Almost 8:44. Yeah, it's getting on the later side. I wanted to do this live stream just to get it out of the way. It's actually been on my list of things to do, is to make this video. Again, the main point of the video is the earlier part. So I probably went too long in the Q&A section, but that's basically takes care of it. And that's the main point of the video is. But I wanted to do a little bit of a Q&A as well, because it's been a while since I've had a general live stream. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate all the support over time. And once again, with this J1 project, I do apologize for not having anything to show for it. It's been a long time since I started it, and it's been a long time since I did anything with it, really. But I'm not calling it quits. It's just I need to take a long break from it. So that's that for now. Once again, thank you very much for your support. I realize that you could be doing a multitude of other things on your Sunday evenings, but yet you decided to come here and watch this. You could come here and watch me do a live stream on some failed locomotive that I've done, or maybe not done would be a better way to say. But that takes care of the live stream now for now, guys. Like I said, I will leave this up on my channel. And once again, the main point of the video, if you're watching this, watching the video version of this, the main point of the video was to make the announcement and put the J1 all out on the table so people know what's up and knows the situation there. So I'll leave it here for now, guys. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to contact me. I'm on Instagram. My handle is at Emperor of the North Pole. You can find me there. I'm sure you could just search my name and find me, Glenn Holland Streamline Bricks. So that takes care of that. Once again, thank you everybody for watching. I'm going to leave it there for now, and talk to you all later.